Welcome back to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including Comcast and Spectrum still merging. We'll break down what's happening there and the reported rumors around it. AT&T is also buying Centurylink and a bunch of other fiber internet companies. Now the union that represents workers at both has some concerns. We'll bring them up. And NPR is suing to stop their loss of funding. I expect PBS to do the same soon. We'll tell you what's happening there and more in a quick second. First though, if you're new here, do me a favor. If you want to check out any of these stories I'm about to talk about, check out the show notes down below. And in the first pinned comment, I'll put a link to each story there so you can read them for yourself and come up with your own opinions. I'd love to hear from you. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button or hit that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. All right, let's dive into it. For months now, there's been growing speculation that Comcast and Spectrum will merge. Now, with this comes the reality that both companies are seeing huge numbers of TV customers and even losing a lot of internet customers with that. At some point, to survive in the world of television, they need to merge. Now, we were all a little surprised to see Spectrum announce a big merger, not with Comcast, but with Cox. Now, Cox Communications is only getting like 22% of the new merged company. Let's be honest, Spectrum's just buying Cox without having to do exchange all the cash in it. Though I don't think this puts an end to this possibility of Comcast and Spectrum merging. As more and more people cancel their cable TV and join Cord Cutting 2.0 and cancel their cable internet from these companies, there's a bigger need to merge and grow to survive. Originally, a lot of the fear was to have one big cable company was it would put too much control and power in the cable company against cable networks. So things like Paramount, Warner Bros. Discovery, and others would have problems with that. Now, though, there's many options for TV. Used to be you had like a cable option and two satellite options, and that may be all the TV options you had where you lived not that long ago. Nowadays, there's YouTube TV, Fubo, Hulu Plus Live, Sling, Philo, Friendly, not to mention a huge number of on-demand services. And because of that, the fears of monopolies are greatly reduced, allowing a lot of speculation that they could actually get an approved deal for Comcast and Spectrum to merge. We'll be keeping a close eye on this. While I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, I think Spectrum needs to complete the Cox merger and then worry about any other options. I do believe that if the current trend of cord cutting continues, and I expect it to, both Comcast and Spectrum will probably need to look at options on how they can deal with not just losing a bunch of internet or TV customers, but losing a lot of internet customers with that. A merger could help solve that problem. We'll keep an eye on this. Let me know. What do you think? Should Comcast and Spectrum merge, or should that be blocked? Do you not like that idea? Also, would you rather have the Comcast management team lead it or the Spectrum management team? My prediction, not that I think they're best, I would suspect that Spectrum would actually manage it. Comcast would rather turn their focus to other business ventures that they run. All right, next up, AT&T, we talked about this earlier, is buying Centurylink, the parent company behind it, and which also owns a bunch of other smaller fiber companies with this. Now the union that represents its workers is raising concerns for workers and consumers with this. Now, I think a big part of this is the union is concerned that this will give AT&T such monopolistic control over the fiber business that it may give them or cause issues with some of the employees, so the employees may not be needed as they reduce redundancy between the two newly merged companies. Now, it is important to note that AT&T intends to buy this company and keep it a wholly owned AT&T subsidiary, but as an independent company. Many companies do this. Think about DirecTV being spun off into an independent company, for example. But the union has definitely raised new red flags about this Network Co. They're calling the new company Network Co. But raised concerns about it as we deal with the growth of these merging world. Now, a lot of this has to do with the fact of growing competition. There's more internet fiber providers than there used to be. There's 5G home internet, satellite internet, cable internet being better. With all this, Americans have more options. AT&T and others have benefited for some time for this. But how long until cord cutters start leaving AT&T for 5G home internet that is cheaper than what they get through fiber? We're already seeing that happen to cable companies like Comcast and Spectrum, not just losing TV customers, but internet customers only. Be interested to see how this goes through regulatory approval and what, if any, stipulations are put on it to maybe put some limits on what may be allowed with it. All right, next up, NPR is suing over a cut in federal funding for their radio stations. They're joined by some of their independent radio stations with this. Keep an eye on PBS. I expect PBS to do it. I know I get this a lot. People say, well, they don't need that money. It's a small percentage of their income, like 20-some%. But think about it. Let's just say you're making $100,000, right? If you lose $20,000 of that, that still hurts. You may be doing just fine. You may have your finances and be able to live on that. But losing 20% of your income still hurts. You know, if you're making $50,000 and you lose $10,000 of your income, that hurts. And same here. Well, yes, many bigger PBS stations and NPR stations are not going to be affected at all. Many small stations are definitely going to feel the crunch of losing federal funding. And that's where the lawsuit comes in. And this is going to be very close to watch. There's been a big push to end PBS and NPR as public institutions and make them completely private. Now the question is, will that hold up in court? Because the leadership of these organizations have vowed to fight that effort. We'll be watching this closely and letting you know. For now, nothing's changing. This is likely going to get caught up in court. There's probably going to be a stay as it runs through court. Court could take months, more likely years, for this to run its course. We'll watch it closely, but mark my word, PBS is probably next up in the lawsuit here. NPR just got theirs out first. All right, FCC has set out internet speed requirement guidelines for states that they want the states to basically be broadband funding or funding for its national broadband effort to bring broadband to more people, to bring 100 down and 20 up internet speeds as a baseline for people, has only been met in 22 out of 50 United States, according to a report from Ookla. O-O-K-L-A, hope I say that, Oakley, however you say that. Dyslexic, I'm not the greatest at that. Now this is kind of concerning, you know, a lot of money has been spent to meet this goal, and let's be honest, 100 down and 20 up is not that much. Even older internet services or wireless internet can meet these. Even things like satellite internet often can meet these requirements. But only 22 states out of 50 have successfully reached that limit, so less than half of states are offering that, according to this report. Increasingly, these states are working to kind of fit or fix all these issues with it and be able to address the concerns with it. For now, though, they are well behind their planned goals of reaching that limit with it. So keep an eye on that. What internet speeds do you get? I'm paying for a gig because I need the upload for all these videos and things I do, all the files I transfer. But I'll be honest, most people don't need a gig. 100 down is more than enough for several 4K streams, you know, Ring doorbell cameras, surfing the web, making video calls and the like. You know, it just depends on how much you're actually doing on the network. All right, today in TV history, 43 years ago this week, Mork and Mindy aired its final episode of the beloved sci-fi sitcom that made Robin Williams the megastar he would later become. Now, the episode aired on May 27th, 1982, and represented a massive amount of fanfare with it. Very popular show. First aired September 14th, 1978, ran for about 4 years before coming to an end. Mork and Mindy now, I think, is more widely liked than it was, I think, when it first aired. It's actually kind of hard to find on streaming. I was actually surprised, like Amazon does not have it available when I searched, at least to miss it, to buy through Amazon Prime Video or rent or stream there. Though it is streaming for free on Pluto TV and other free services, check it out. But 43 years ago this week, Mork and Mindy came to an end. And lastly, hey, there's a ton of what's new this week. A lot of new content coming to Netflix, Hulu, Max, and other services. We have a full breakdown of all of them over at cordcuttersnews.com. You can find a list. I'll put a link to one of them in the show notes. But don't forget, every Monday we post lists of what's new this week on many popular streaming services. Check it out. Link in the show notes down below. You can find it there. Well, that's it for today. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Let me know what you think of these stories. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button or hitting that thumbs up. Doing one or both really does help us. We would appreciate your support. Until tomorrow, take care, be safe. I'll talk to you all again real soon.